Hi everyone! In this video, we're going to learn about the O-ring Port Aggregation Group protocol and how to configure the ports on our switches. Let's log in to our switches. For this demo, we have 3 switches. Switch A with IP 10.11, Switch B with IP 10.12, Switch C with IP 10.13. Before we configure O-ring port aggregation, we need to prepare the ports. On switch A, set port 5 to port 8 to 1 gigabit per second full duplex. On switch B, do the same. Force port 5 to port 8 to 1 gigabit per second full duplex. On switch C, also configure port 5 to port 8 at 1 gigabit per second full duplex. Here's the O-ring port aggregation topology we want to build. Switch A port 5 plus port 6 with aggregation ID 1. Connected to Switch B, port 5 plus port 6 with aggregation ID 2. Switch B port 7 plus port 8 with aggregation ID 5. Connected to Switch C port 5 plus port 6 with aggregation ID equals 3. Now let's configure O-ring ports aggregation groups. On switch A, go to port setting, port trunk and click configuration. Select port 5 and port 6, set group ID equals 1. Select port 7 and port 8, set group ID equals 6. On switch B, go to the same port aggregation configuration page. Select port 5 and port 6, set group ID equals 2. Select port 7 and port 8, set group ID equals 5. On switch C, go to port setting, port trunk and choose configuration. Select port 5 and port 6, set group ID equals 3. Select port 7 and port 8, set group ID equals 4. Now, connect the switches as follows. Switch A port 5 and 6, group ID 1 connected switch B port 5 and 6, group ID 2. Switch B port 7 and 8, group ID 5 connected to switch C port 5 and 6, group ID 3. Please note, in O-ring port aggregation group protocol, the group IDs don't need to match between devices. The IDs are only used to differentiate aggregation groups inside one switch. This is different from LACP, where both sides must share the same key. Since PAGP is developed by O-ring engineers, it's not an industry standard protocol, meaning only O-ring devices can use this function. To verify, go to the static aggregation page. Here you can see the aggregation IDs and the configured member ports. But notice that it does not show the neighbor device because, unlike LACP, O-ring aggregation does not require the same group ID on both sides. One big advantage of O-ring port aggregation is redundancy. If one port in the aggregation goes down, traffic will continue to flow through the remaining ports. The link stays active as a static aggregation link. Once the failed port comes back online, the group automatically restores full bandwidth and updates the aggregation status. And that's it. You've learned how to configure O-ring port aggregation group protocol and the benefits it provides. Thank you and see you on the next video.